get on with it, John.
Okay.
Thank
Welcome
you. It's
back,
to
John.
you.
Thank you very much,
Great.
Linda.
Welcome
Thanks.
back, everyone.
Thanks.
So, yes, good to be back as well, too. Wonderful day, of course, yesterday, where we were able to explore and open up and enter the whole world of discovery, moving well away from what perhaps we've, for long term, only thought of as recovery from addictions. To transcend your addictions is so much different from remaining in recovery from them. To transcend your addictions is to literally move beyond them. To move beyond them and to know that they have had a terrific amount to show to you if you have eyes to see it, and an enormous amount to learn from if we have the open heart to receive that learning. But then once the experience of that is done, it is done. And there is no use continuing to persevere with the notion of remaining in a perpetual state of being in recovery. That only, as we said yesterday, keeps the whole thing in place. At the core, the only thing that any human being wants to know and then to make as their experience is who they really are, what is their purpose in life, where are they from, where are they going to. It's the age-old questions, of course, that each and every one of us are always homing in on and looking at for ourselves. And if we're not, then perhaps it's time that we do, to see really what is our own purpose here in this life. We are creators. We cannot not create. You'll recall that it was one of the 4 remembrances whenever we do forget to remember. The first one being, I cannot, never have I been separated from the source of life that is sourcing me. The second, I am all that I say that I am. I cannot not create. And then, of course, unfolding from that, well, the meaning of life, it's the meaning that I give to it. And so our next experience unfolds from that. It was interesting because I received an email just yesterday, and it was from a lady called Donna. And Donna is obviously in an interesting place about herself at this point in time, because I happened to look at her Facebook page once I received her connection, and right across the top of the Facebook page is this statement: "You couldn't handle me even if I came with instructions." And I had to laugh at that, and I thought, oh, wow, I can't wait. I can't wait to make connection with Donna, because what a wonderful true statement that she was making about her current experience. That's obviously how she sees life at present. I would gather that that's probably how she was always seeing life. In Donna's case, just like in so many, her whole perception of life was formed at that very early age. And if she always thought that she was going onto the battlefield in life, where she had to vie for her own space in life, for people to take some notice of her, it must have ensued as a battle, thinking for a moment that she was up against life, that there was life and then there was Donna. Now, Donna isn't alone in that. Pretty well every person in the world has something of that about them, that there's life and then there's little me, and that to the best of my ability, I have to make sense of the otherwise no sense of this thing called life. That is, of course, until we become more consciously aware, which was really the whole purpose for me speaking to you all yesterday and again today, to invite you to allow a more consciousness, to actually be at the very core of how you see yourself, how you present yourself in life, and how you actually go in alignment with life itself. The first remembrance. We never can be separated from the source that's sourcing us. That's it. One flow, many experiences, constancy of existence. That's what consciousness is. That's what we are. So I look forward to interacting with Donna. And of course, if Donna, like so many of you who have wanted to do something about your addictive behaviors when they've really become so problematic in your life, Donna will inevitably approach me as though there were something gigantic to overcome. She will have a problem that will seemingly be incredibly insurmountable to her until it's not. And it will be my purpose, as it will be whenever I interact with any of you, to do as I always would, to sit with Donna and to immediately allay that very unnecessary fear. How do you do that? You ask Donna what it's been like to be Donna. What has it been like to be Donna? Tell me about yourself so that whatever I may have missed, you can actually enlighten me about. And then, Donna, I'll be able to tell you about whatever I have been discovering in life, which at one time I will have missed, and allowing that discovery to come to the fore, you too, perhaps, might be able to begin to experience your life from a different experience, from a different starting place. Einstein, and he does remind us that you cannot solve any problem from the same starting place, from the same depth or level of conscious awareness from which the problem arose. In other words, we have to either go larger than the problem itself, or, as my book Addiction Unplugged encourages you to do, literally slip out from the problem itself. Just slip out from the problem. The problem is a creation of the mind. It's very, very real, okay? We feel it in every way imaginable because it manifests in every possible and every conceivable way. Until it doesn't. Until we actually slip out from how we have put it all together from the outset, from the very inception. And you see, all Donna really needs to know and to be reminded of is that she's safe and that she's okay. That she's safe and that she's okay. She's at a particular point in her lifetime, in this lifetime, having a particular experience that has been very challenging to her, and that will continue until it doesn't. And it will be slipped out from the moment she actually expands her conscious awareness. And only then will she be able to approach the problem from a different starting place. And as soon as she does that, the problem disappears. It disappears. Because in an instant, she will have reminded herself of the expansiveness of her life rather than the tininess of her problem. That is the message of the book Addiction Unplugged. That has been the essential message that I've been sharing alongside Adamus this very weekend. As consciousness expands, our addictions dissolve. And so Donna is in for a very, very nice surprise, because I can tell from her email that she's so very, very ready for recognition of that expansion to become her new experience. What Donna, of course, needs to hear most of all is affirmation and validation. Do you know, it's the only thing that any human being requires: affirmation and validation. That means no judgment, no criticism, unconditional love. Yesterday, I was reminding you of when a child comes into the world, it is pure potential. Everything is possible, everything, to the newborn. And then, from parents who believe they're giving unconditional love, actually are not. They have many conditions. It's just that they're obviously not always aware of them, because they've become their beliefs. And their beliefs have become their judgments. In fact, there is no difference between a belief about something and a judgment. I would really encourage every one of you to really look very, very carefully at your own beliefs. And I don't just mean a belief in a religious aspect or a spiritual aspect or a God or a not a God. That's how we often think of as being a belief. But beliefs are quite hidden. They're insidious, really. They're not easy to detect. But a belief really is an ingrained judgment. It's a perception. It's a view of life that we have actually become very programmed and conditioned to have. It's a framework in which we try to view everything else. And of course, it's not possible to do that. And so when I sit with Donna very soon, as soon as I get back from United States to England, it would be my privilege to discover from Donna, as she discovers from life, through me as it happens. That's why I say it's a privilege. There's so much more of Donna that she's yet to give herself the permission, without judgment, to become her newfound experience. And so in an instant, probably within the first 5 minutes, she will discover no belief, no judgment, no judgment, no problem. Only the child coming into the world with pure potential before it brings unconditional love. Because you see, there is no perceived judgment yet formed. There is no insurmountable problem yet formed. Pure potential is unconditional in its love. In fact, I was just reading recently how scientists in their recent research have discovered that even in the womb, at the time the child is about to be birthed, if at the time of birth there's any damage done to an organ of its mother, the child immediately releases stem cells as a protection to its mother. That's unconditional love. That's no waiting involved. That's immediate, that's spontaneous, that's from consciousness without judgment. As I was reminding you yesterday, for myself, in these last 5 years, my great-nephew Aidan has taught me more about me than ever I could possibly be teaching him about his life. I've simply forgotten to remember the child has not done that yet, because the child is never separated from the source of life, sourcing that life, and knows it. We've forgotten to remember it. We go into the battlefield. We go into the battlefield constantly. It's a fear, of course, in us. Fear is at the bottom of every addictive behavior, a fear of actually not being taken enough notice of. And Adama's very beautifully described that also. this vying for power. It's a fear, of course, that somebody could take something from us that we don't have enough in our resources to give, or that we might not have enough within us in order to be able to supply. But of course, it's such an illusion. It's only because we have forgotten to remember the pure potential, the conscious beings that we are. Do you know, over the years, I have had quite fun actually asking the person who's been in their addiction recovery for a number of years, maybe as long as they can remember. And I would have asked 3 very simple questions. What are you in recovery from? Well, you might be surprised to find that wherever I've gone in the world and asked that question, usually people actually look at me blank. They've got so very, very used to using the jargon about themselves, a demon inside, a devil on the shoulder, a monkey on my back, on and off the wagon, that they've actually forgotten what they were originally in recovery from. They've actually just taken on a whole world of descriptiveness about a state of being that they've convinced themselves that they are. They're that. They're just that. They're all that. You know what I mean, don't you? And I say, well, actually, I don't. I don't know what you mean. What are you in recovery from? I then ask the second question. So how long is it going to take you to recover? Oh, hey, wow, it's as though I've asked like some really difficult question there. Well, they say. Well, Well, actually, I don't know. How long is it going to take you to recover? And then they give me all those awful statistics that I was sharing with you yesterday. Well, it takes this. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You can't ask me to just change. Okay. Third question, the obvious one from me. So how will you ever know when you've ever recovered? Never thought of that one before, But in asking those questions, because I'm not talking to stupid people, there are very, very, very few people that I have had the privilege of working with in addiction, and I have worked with people at all levels. I have worked with people who were, on the street. I have worked very much at community level basis. I have worked with what we, sometimes call middle class people who, live the more general, normal kind of way of living that the majority of the world are. And then I've lived with the rich and famous and the celebrities and those who think that they have to go to a very special kind of treatment and rehabilitation center. But questions are the same, experience is the same, outcome is the same. There are very many ways by which we can come out from that, snap out from that. In the book, I offer one of them. And it is one that some of you may be familiar with. It comes from it's the Hawaiian tradition, it's the Huna tradition, it's the one of Ho'oponopono. It's very beautiful because it's very simple, and it's very simple because it's very profound. In fact, most things in life that are very profound are very simple. They're so simple that we usually miss them. That's what makes them so profound. And Ho'oponopono is very simple, 3 statements. Thank you. Please forgive me, I'm sorry. I love you. And the tradition of Huna and Ho'oponopono is in the thank you, in the recognizing that whenever a problem that seems so very, very real seems to be arising, that as soon as you feel it welling up inside of you, as soon as you get the I don't feel as though I fit here anymore. Nothing seems to be in alignment. You say the word, albeit simply to yourself, and you keep saying it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you say the thank you until it actually begins to lessen as a problem. So what are you thanking when you say thank you? You're thanking the actual problem itself for arising. And you recognize that the problem arising has been there to simply remind you of who you are not. Thank you. I forgot. I thought I was just a body. Oh, thank you. Oh, I forgot. I thought I was just my mind or the last thought I had. Oh, it's a sigh of relief. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you allow the problem to begin to diminish as it has been perceived. I'm sorry, please forgive me. That's not to any external force that you're begging forgiveness or saying you're sorry to. No, it's a kind of annoyance almost with yourself. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Forgive who? Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for forgetting to remember. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I forgot to remember the truth of who I am. Which as soon as I just step back from the problem, no matter how insurmountable it seemed, how real it has appeared to be, I know has no substance behind it. And finally, and it only takes seconds, minutes to do the beautiful process of Ho'oponopono, which actually just means making right, bringing back into alignment, pulling back into truth, that which seemed to be a very, very real lie about yourself. The last statement, I love you. Okay? Again, what's that about? Well, first of all, it's very important to understand what love is, and most of us don't. Most of us do not know what love is. Love is the very opposite of fear. Fear separates. Love sees no disconnect within yourself. Within yourself. Nothing to do with another person. Forgiveness, nothing to do with another person. Thank you, nothing to do with another person. Nothing to do with an external source. All within. All the realization that I had at my disposal. All of this truth, which is very powerful, which does change, which does transform, as long as I give myself the permission to go full circle and to recognize, thank you for the experience. Please forgive me, I'm sorry, I almost forgot to remember it. I love you. It closes the illusionary gap. And so what a fabulous message that is to give yourself in an instant. And then realization doesn't have to take such a very, very long time. You don't have to remain in your perpetual state of recovery, which for most people, to be quite honest, is about as attractive as staying in their constant state of addiction. It's not going to be very attractive to most to stay in a perpetual state of the need to be in recovery. For most young people, that's the most unattractive option to give them, because they know they're so much more than that. They just are looking for the permission to be the more of that. At present, and I'm not aware of very many other people in the world in this particular field of addiction, I am the voice that is speaking that message. I just am that voice. I just have to accept that this is my current experience. And if I speak it from my heart and my soul, it will have that magical, miraculous, immediate sense of freedom for the person who's been looking for the validation and the affirmation that they've so much longed to make their own. I'm going to read to you a little bit from my book. I call it my book. It's not really mine at all. It's your book. A spiritual master once spoke to his disciple. A miser decided to hide his gold in a hole at the foot of a tree in his garden. Every day, when nobody was looking, he would pull out the gold and gaze at it. A thief saw him, went at night and robbed the gold. The following day, the miser discovered that the hole was empty and the gold gone. He got a terrible shock. But the very shock brought him to his senses and freed him from his fever for gold. He thought to himself, seeing this empty hole each day has the same effect on me as seeing the gold. At last I'm a free man. So from that day on, he would go every day to visit the empty hole at the foot of the tree and to celebrate his own liberation. With that, he became just as obsessed with visiting the empty hole every day as he had previously obsessed with the gold. Except that now there was no robber to liberate him from his new and more subtle fever. The disciple replied, "But Master, I have already detached myself from everything." "Now," replied the Master, "detach yourself from your detachment." If you allow the message of that very simple story to resonate in your heart and in your soul, and I'm speaking now directly to those who have recognized their own addictions, their own stucknesses, and to those family members and loved ones who are really stuck in their own at the same time, that we can persevere with various forms of being in recovery, but unless we just literally call a day even on that, we don't ever really get free at all, because we're still very much attached to an outcome. The fear is still very, very much alive as ever it was. The separation is still totally intact. There is no change whatsoever being made. At best, the person who's gone through the various addiction treatments would say, "Never touch another drop of drink ever again in my life." Everybody might be delighted to hear that. But I've met an awful lot of people who are in recovery who are incredibly miserable beings to be with. Why? Because they still feel, as a belief, which is a judgment on themselves, that they've had to do without something, that they've had to give something up. And you know what? They find that incredibly difficult. They think it's almost valiant. And where's the difference? They're still on the battlefield, aren't they? They're still at best just calling a truce, putting up the white flag, making things seem temporarily better, more relieved. But no change in consciousness whatsoever. I wouldn't decry any form of treatment or recovery program that actually is doing what you require it to do. But in and of themselves, as they stand, they're not really inviting you to evolve. And that, at the heart and soul of every person in addiction, is the only thing, just like it is for every single one of us, is what we deeply desire and the only thing we crave for. to begin at last to realize in this here and now the freedom, the expansiveness of being who we really are. Please forget that it is the substance in the glass, or the substance in the medication, or the substance in the injecting, or the substance of gambling, or the substance of pornography, or the substance of any one material thing that has such power over you, because it cannot. But we can give to it an enormous credence. We give to it the belief, and the belief is the power. Is the power. We have given the belief that actually is the belief, once we hold it, causes the real damage.
We hope that you enjoyed that last presentation by John Flaherty. It was so connected to, I think, with how we all feel energies, and really grounding for me.
That's one that I'm definitely going to go back and listen to a couple of times, because there was so much brilliance, wisdom, information
Absolutely.
in that session with John that I know I didn't grasp at all while it was going on, because I found myself going off and thinking, feeling into my situations, into other people's situations, and then I was trying to catch up with the new stuff he was saying. I'm definitely going to go back and listen to that again.
Well, I enjoyed how congruent it was with everything we've been learning about new energy and consciousness, and that was really, really nice to feel that kind of connection to the material.
Absolutely. John is a master, and we appreciate everything he's sharing with us, and such a joy to work with John and with Anne Louise. So glad you're here.
Absolutely.